Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Danielle Lloyd. I am the founder and principal of Archetype Learning Solutions. And on this channel, we talk about all things employee engagement. And one of those things that I hope to do on this channel is to go way beyond or way past the standard topics, the standard words, the standard things that we apply and associate with employee engagement, and go much deeper into some topics that aren't necessarily covered within our organizations. And one of those is role stress or role strain. So let me share my screen here really quickly so I can give you a sense of what that is. And this idea of role stress or strain is somewhat of an umbrella term that covers a lot of different variants or variables within this idea of role stress or strain. And it's really the challenges, whether they come from the organization itself, whether they come from individuals or even the employees, the challenges that impacts an employee's ability to function to their fullest extent within a particular role. So it's been widely associated and correlated to dissatisfaction, what I call cumulative workplace distress. So that could be PTSD, that could be moral injury, that could be burnout. And it's also very highly associated with dissatisfaction or disengagement, rather, within an organization. So let's just unpack a couple of these terms really quickly. So we call out, again, role stress, role strain as an umbrella term that covers role incongruence. And so let me just read here. Role incongruence is when the obligations and personal values are incompatible. So those are things that might contribute to cumulative workplace distress, like moral injury or burnout. There's role incompetence. That is when a person does not have the necessary skills or knowledge to be working in a particular role. So it could be that they have been promoted prematurely, they misrepresented themselves. The Peters principle was put into motion with role incompetence. And then finally, there's several more, but role ambiguity is when expectations are very unclear, uncertain, ill-defined, associated with poorly defined requirements. Oftentimes we find in role ambiguity that you have one manager who's giving you direction in one specific pathway, and then you have another manager or another individual who's giving you a different set of guidelines to follow and tasks to do that might seem incompatible with one another. And so suddenly you're left in this huge confusing state of, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing? So how does this relate to employee engagement? Well, if I'm confused about my role, I'm uncertain as to what it is that I'm supposed to be doing, it's definitely impacting my ability to meet perceived expectations, which of course, clear expectations is usually one of the questions that is asked in an employee engagement survey. So I'm going to I know that I talk a lot about how I dislike surveys, but they have given us some really great questions or great things that we should be aware of when it comes to employee engagement. So for this video, I'm going to connect some of the role stress items and relate it back to some of the questions or things that we know to be known engagement drivers. So expectations, clear expectations is certainly one of those things that we associate with good engagement. I know what it is that I'm supposed to be doing, because the last thing any employee wants to do is find out that they've been given a set of instructions to do something one way, but then actually those instructions were not clear and they should have been doing them a completely different way. So what happens then? Employees are constantly in trouble, if you will. There can be punitive or disciplinary results that occur because of uncertain expectations, and all because the employee was told to do something that was ambiguous or incongruous with one another. So clear expectations are certainly important when it comes to engagement. And this is one of the biggest challenges and frustration among employees, particularly new employees, is this idea that they're getting conflicting instructions that are ambiguous rather, and set people up for failure rather than success, because they're not able to meet a set of expectations. So that's one way that role stress and role strain can contribute to or impact your overall employee engagement results. So some of the other known engagement drivers that we know from some of the survey questions, my supervisor or boss cares about me as an individual. So if you've been put into a situation, or an employee rather has been put into a situation where they're experiencing a lot of role stress and strain, they certainly don't feel cared about especially when it comes time to something like disciplinary actions as a result. So my employee cares about me as a person, certainly contributes or is a role stress is a contributing factor to not feeling cared about. Let's put it that way instead. Deeper connections. How can I connect with my teammates, develop a better relationship with my supervisor or one-up manager if there's no trust? And trust is a two-way street. So if I can't trust that I'm getting the right information from my manager or supervisor or to whom I am reporting, then I don't feel that I can trust you. And conversely, if the employee is getting ambiguous or inconsistent instructions, now suddenly they're seen as untrustworthy from the manager. So we cannot get to deeper connections or relationships when we are in a situation of role stress or role strain. Another question or known engagement driver is this idea that I have the materials and equipment to do my job. Okay, that's a double-barreled question that I constantly have challenges with, but it remains that it is one of the known engagement drivers, is that people have the tools that they need to do their work. So what I have experienced in the past is when new employees in particular come into an organization and they say, well, I'm expected to do this, or this is in my job description, and I need this particular set of software, or I need this particular set of tools or resources to do my work to its most effective capacity. And they're told, no, you don't. You really don't need that. We're not going to provide it for you. So make do with what we have. That can be, that is a known engagement driver as well. I guess in this case, it's a disengagement driver. My opinions seem to count. Another question that's associated with engagement. So suddenly now if someone's coming and saying that they are experiencing some role stress, or things are not clear, or they're contributing their professional opinion to a particular body of work, question, situation, etc., and you've got someone who is not allowing that person to work to the top of their capacity, suddenly their opinion's not going to matter. And again, that is a known driver of engagement, or in this case, disengagement. So in addition to engagement, I also do a lot of work with integration. We know that primarily as onboarding. Now, I don't like the term onboarding. I don't think it goes deep enough. So I call it integration. And integration is more inclusive because it involves a contextual understanding of the work, a content specific understanding of the work, and a cultural kind of integration, if you will, into the workforce. So I've done a lot of research, 20 years of research into this particular topic. So and poorly integrated employees typically tend to experience lower engagement than well-integrated employees. So how role stress and role strain contributes to integration is that it can limit a person's ability to receive the content knowledge that they need in order to do their work. And it also contributes to a lack of social support. So let me give you an example. If I am not performing up to a perceived level of expectation when I come in as a new employee, because I am being constrained through role stress or role strain, my hiring manager, my reporting relationship may become jeopardized through no fault of my own, because I'm not getting the information that I need to do the work that I've been hired to do. So suddenly now managers are beginning to talk. Gee, this individual, we thought this was going to be a really great hire. They interviewed so well, they had great references, they've got great experience, but all of a sudden they're not showing up like we expected. through no fault of their own. And so now all of a sudden out in the ether, there's a buzz around a particular employee and how they are not functioning to that appropriate level of expectation. So now they have lost some social support through this process. So this is yet one more way that we see role stress and role strain show up as a contributor of disengagement within our organizations. And I think that this is a really important thing to talk about. I have not seen or heard role stress, role strain talked about within organizations. It's talked about a lot in academia. Most research studies that I read that contribute to my own research discuss role stress, role strain on a variety of levels as a contributor to lack of engagement, stress, some of the things we talked about earlier when we looked at the slide. But within the workplaces, 32 years of experience doing this work, and I don't think I've ever engaged anyone in a conversation where we have talked about this at any length. It's a very real thing, and it is a huge contributor to dissatisfaction overall. So if you think that you have any employees, particularly your new hires, like I have said multiple times, role stress is the biggest new hire buzzkill there is. And we know that employees will make a stay or go decision within 3 to 30 days. Now, whether they can go is brings us to a whole other topic that hopefully we'll talk about in another video, but it's a huge challenge for new employees that might be experiencing this degree of role stress. So there you go. That's today's video conversation on how role stress impacts employee engagement. And I hope this has been of some interest to you, particularly if you are a manager who has employees that may be experiencing some type of role stress. If you've got questions or comments on this, I'd love to engage more in some conversations. So please do leave a comment below, ask a question, share any insights. And if this content resonates with you, please give us a like, share, and subscribe. And until our next topic of conversation, I'm Danielle Lord with Archetype Learning Solutions, and where we talk about employee engagement all the time.